It's been a bad season for Florida State, but they've never lost to Duke. Is that going to change on Friday night in Durham, North Carolina? We'll find out in just a second, but I want to talk to you first about a great special that we have at Wager Talk this week, and this week only. It's the rest of college football for just $299. Any handicapper using coupon code CFB299. It'll get you the rest of college football for that handicapper. That's bowl games, that's college football playoffs, that's the rest of the regular season. And I'm just starting to hit my stride in college football. Couple winning weeks in a row. Big 5% max bet win last week on Ohio. A sweep the week before. So give me a shot. I think I'm going to have a good run the rest of the way in college football. And also check out my college basketball package. Coupon code TRIGCBB, TRIGCBB. Get you my entire college basketball season for just $395. I'm up close to 50 units in college hoop the last 2 years, and that's every pick from November 4th when the season starts through Championship Monday for just $395 using coupon code TRIGCBB, TRIGCBB. Okay, let's talk about Florida State and Duke. Right at the top, I referenced that Florida State has never lost to the Duke Blue Devils. That's a fact. 21-0 all time, straight up, Florida State against Duke. But I think it's worth noting that this is not the typical season. Typically, Florida State's not a 1-5 team. Typically, Florida State's a lot better than Duke. And so coming into this week, I kind of started to look and say, wow, this might be a home run spot for Duke at home. They've got to know that. So they've got to be motivated. They have to know that they've never beat Florida State before, and it's a huge opportunity to do so. But the more I sort of listen to the local FSU, beat writers, media that covers the team, Florida State, I don't think they're coming in just to, kind of go through the motions, play guys, and get ready for next season. It really sounds like they're motivated to win this game and try to get their season turned around. Now, what I want to point out at the top that I think kind of generates some value on FSU here, and that's the way I'm looking, Florida State plus the points, is the market considers Florida State to be a bad football team. And I disagree with that. In the context of the ACC, I know they're 1-5. And I know, at the end of the day, your record is 1-5. You're probably a bad football team. But I really think in the context of the ACC, they're more like an average team. They've played as hard of a schedule as anyone in the ACC this year. Georgia Tech on a neutral, Boston College, the Cal game they won, had to go to SMU. Last 2 weeks ago, they had to play Clemson. Clemson and SMU are two of the, I guess if you want to call them elite, they're certainly two of the top teams in the league. I don't know if they're elite on the national stage, but they're elite for the ACC. And then Georgia Tech and Boston College are both capable teams. So I think personally, I feel like Florida State is more like an average team with a bad record. Whereas Duke, on the other hand, they're 5-1, but I don't think Duke is a good team by any means. I think Duke is an average team that happens to have a good record because they haven't played close to the competition Florida State has played so far this year. Duke's only played 2 conference games. Duke started the year with Elon, Northwestern, UConn, and Middle Tennessee State. I think Florida State probably beats all 4 of those teams. I think most teams in the ACC probably beat all 4 of those teams. So, you look at Duke's 2 conference games. They barely beat North Carolina, squeak it out right at the end. They were down 20-0, end up winning 21-20. And then they lose to Georgia Tech by 10. I'm willing to make this statement. I think every single game Florida State has played has been tougher than every single game Duke has played, with the exception of one game, because there is a common opponent here, and that's Georgia Tech. Florida State lost to Georgia Tech on a last-second field goal. Duke lost to Georgia Tech by 10. They were in the game, but I felt like Georgia Tech kind of controlled that game. So do what you will with that, right? Like every single one of those games that Florida State's played outside of the common opponent in Georgia Tech has been a tougher game than anything Duke has seen this year. So now let's go to, come bring it to this game right here. Brock Glenn's going to be the quarterback for Florida State. I think that's a positive change for FSU. I didn't think he was that bad against Clemson. 228 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, just 1 interception. That's a big deal. Like DJU was making a ton of mistakes. Completion percentage wasn't great, but Florida State ended up covering the closing number there. I think that ended up going off like 17 when it was all said and done. So 29-13 does cover. And, Florida State had that game prior to a bye week. So now Glenn has been the quarterback for a couple weeks. He's the starter going into the bye, which I definitely think helps with preparation here. I just haven't seen enough out of Duke to think that they should be laying 3 or 3.5 here. It was 3.5 earlier in the week. As we're doing this video, it's 3, but I'm seeing the 3 plus 105 start to come back. And I'm strongly considering a client play on Florida State plus 3.5. If I can get plus 3.5, I think I may have to jump in with that. I'm going to kind of maybe wait until game day to do that. But, make sure you're following me on all platforms, Adam Trigger WT, because I will tweet out if I do, in fact, add this as a client play. You got a total of 42.5 here. The bookmakers are telling you that this is probably going to be an ugly, low-scoring game. Neither team is very good on third down. These are, I would argue, neither is a dynamic offense. So it definitely, to me, profiles as a low-scoring, tight game. I wouldn't play under 42. I think you're asking for it with a number that low. But at the same time, I certainly wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a 17-14, 20-17 type game. Kind of feels like the Cal game to me, with Florida State maybe going back and forth in a low-scoring, sort of tight game that could really come down to the last possession. So with all that being said, why would you not want to grab the 3.5 points here? And then, of course, you can look at the streak the other way. Florida State probably has heard that all week too. Never lost to Duke. I doubt this team wants to be the first one to do that. And going back to just the overall attitude from Florida State here, I do still think that getting to a bowl game would be considered a huge win this year for this team. I do still think there's a path to potentially do that. They're going to need an upset or two, but it's doable. But it can't happen if they don't win this game. So I think Florida State's going to be motivated here to get a win. This is a winnable game for them. I would make the number here closer to pick. I think at 3 or 3.5, that's some pretty good value against a Duke team that has played no one. And when they have played someone, and I'm not even willing to really call North Carolina someone, they haven't played particularly well. So I like Florida State plus the points. And I'd also love it if you would like and subscribe to the Wager Talk YouTube channel so we can continue to bring you best bet videos in college football and NFL all season long. Also, check out my other videos. I've got another college football YouTube video up and 2 in the NFL. These have done extremely well the last couple weeks, and I expect to hit another one here. Florida State plus 3.5. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Cash all your tickets, and we'll see you guys next time.